Let's be honest for a moment. Most days, you wake up already tired. Not because you didn't sleep, but because your mind never really rested. Before you even sit up, you're thinking about messages, notifications, unfinished tasks, other people's lives, other people's opinions. Your attention is already being pulled in 10 different directions, and the day hasn't even started yet. That is noise. And no one really talks about how dangerous it is. Noise isn't just sound. It's the constant pressure to look, react, respond, compare, and keep up. It's the feeling that if you're not checking something, you're missing something. Over time, that pressure quietly drains you. Not all at once, slowly. So slowly, you don't even notice it happening. You just feel less focused, less clear, less connected to yourself. Most people think they're unmotivated. They think they're lazy. They think something is wrong with them. But very often, the real problem is simpler than that. Their mind is overcrowded. When your attention is always somewhere else, it becomes almost impossible to build anything meaningful. You start things, but you don't stay with them. You make plans, but you don't follow through. Not because you don't care, but because your energy is constantly leaking. Noise keeps you busy, but never fulfilled. And the hardest part? Noise feels normal now. Everyone is distracted. Everyone is scrolling. Everyone is reacting. So you start to believe that this is just how life is. Fast, loud, overwhelming. But deep down, you feel it. You feel that something important is being lost in all this movement. One of the loudest forms of noise is comparison. You see someone else winning, progressing, living a life you want, and suddenly your own path feels slower, smaller, not enough. You start questioning your timing, your abilities, your worth, and without realizing it, your focus shifts away from building your life to watching someone else live theirs. That's a dangerous place to stay, because comparison doesn't inspire action, it creates pressure. And pressure, when it lasts too long, turns into paralysis. You hesitate, you overthink, you wait for the right moment that never comes. Noise convinces you that you're behind. Silence reminds you that you're still in the race. Another kind of noise is the need to be seen, to be noticed, to be validated. You might not even admit it out loud, but a part of you wants reassurance that you're doing okay, that you're on the right path. The problem is, when your motivation depends on external feedback, your progress becomes unstable. You move when you're praised, you stop when you're ignored, and life doesn't always clap when you're growing. Some of the most important work you'll ever do will happen quietly, with no audience, no recognition, no immediate reward. And that's where most people quit. Silence feels uncomfortable at first. When the noise fades, your thoughts get louder. You start noticing the excuses you've been making, the habits that are holding you back, the ways you've been avoiding responsibility for your own direction. That discomfort isn't failure, it's awareness. But awareness requires courage. It's easier to turn the noise back on, to distract yourself, to stay busy instead of being honest. And many people do that not because they're weak, but because silence forces you to face yourself. Focus grows in quiet moments. When you give your mind space, something changes. You start thinking more clearly. You make decisions instead of reactions. You feel less rushed and more intentional. You stop chasing everything and start choosing what actually matters. This is where real discipline begins, not with force, but with clarity. Discipline becomes easier when your environment supports your focus. When your attention isn't constantly being pulled away, staying consistent doesn't feel like a battle. It feels natural. The people who win aren't always the loudest. They're not always the fastest. They're usually the most focused. They learn to protect their attention, to limit the noise, to build quietly while others were distracted. And over time, That quiet effort compounds into results that look impressive from the outside. This chapter isn't asking you to disappear from the world. It's asking you to become more present in your own life, to notice what steals your energy, to question what deserves your attention, to understand that not everything that's loud is important. Your future doesn't need more stimulation. It needs more direction. And direction begins when you choose focus over noise. Chapter 2. Why focusing on others makes you lose. Take a slow breath and let it out. X. Now think about the last time you compared yourself to someone else. Maybe it was their success, their money, their confidence, their lifestyle, or simply how far ahead they seemed to be. You didn't plan to compare. It just happened. That's how comparison works. Quietly, automatically, almost gently at first. But what it does to you over time is anything but gentle. So, when you focus on others, your energy leaves you. Not all at once, not dramatically, but drop by drop. Every time your attention moves outward towards someone else's journey, it moves away from your own. And the more often that happens, the harder it becomes to stay connected to what you are building. Comparison doesn't just steal motivation, it steals direction. You start questioning things that never needed to be questioned. Your pace, your choices, your timing. You forget that your life has its own rhythm. So, here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You cannot build your future while watching someone else live theirs. The mind can only fully focus in one direction at a time. And when that direction is outward toward others, your own growth slows down. Not because you're incapable, but because you're distracted. Comparison convinces you that success should look a certain way, that it should happen by a certain age, on a certain timeline, with a certain level of visibility. And when your reality doesn't match that picture, doubt enters. So, doubt sounds like this. Am I too late? Why are they ahead of me? Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I chose the wrong path. Those thoughts don't come from wisdom. They come from misplaced focus. You were never meant to measure your progress against someone else's chapter. You don't know what they sacrificed. You don't know how many times they failed. You don't know how long they walked in silence before anything worked. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight moment. And that comparison is unfair to you. And pause. Focusing on others creates emotional noise. One moment you feel inspired. The next moment you feel small, then anxious, then rushed. You start wanting results faster, not because you're ready for them, but because you're afraid of falling behind. But growth doesn't respond well to fear. Fear makes you inconsistent. It makes you jump from idea to idea, from plan to plan, from identity to identity. You stop building depth and start chasing shortcuts. And pause. There is a quiet strength in staying in your own lane. It's not flashy. It's not exciting, but it's powerful. When you focus on yourself, something changes internally. You stop asking, how am I doing compared to them? And start asking, am I better than I was yesterday? That single shift restores control, because now your progress is measurable, personal, honest. You don't need permission. You don't need applause. You don't need to be ahead of anyone. You just need to keep going and pause. Another danger of focusing on others is that it makes you forget your why. You started for a reason, a personal reason, something meaningful to you. But comparison slowly replaces that reason with external expectations. You stop working for fulfillment and start working for approval. And approval is a moving target. No matter how far you go, someone else will always be further, louder, richer, faster. And if your motivation depends on comparison, peace will always stay out of reach. Pause. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't argue. It doesn't compete. It comes from knowing that you're doing the work even when no one notices. When you stop focusing on others, your mind relaxes. Your decisions become simpler. You waste less energy proving yourself and invest more energy improving yourself. This is how consistency is born. Pause. The people who win long-term are not obsessed with competition. They are obsessed with progress. They understand that the only person worth competing with is who they were yesterday. They show up. They repeat the work. They stay patient. And over time, something interesting happens. The very people they once compared themselves to start noticing them. But by then, it doesn't matter. Pause. If comparison has been holding you back, forgive yourself. You're human. The world encourages comparison. It profits from it. But awareness gives you a choice. And today, you can choose differently. You can choose to return your focus home, back to your habits, your effort, your pace, your path. Because when you focus on you fully, honestly, consistently, winning stops being a question of if and becomes a question of when. Chapter 3. The Power of Isolation. Isolation has a bad reputation. When people hear the word, they think of loneliness, rejection, or being left behind. They imagine silence as something negative, something to escape from. But the truth is, isolation is not always a punishment. Sometimes it is a choice, and sometimes it is the most powerful choice you can make. Every person who has ever built something meaningful went through a period where they had to step back from the noise, the opinions, and the expectations of others. Not because they hated people, but because they needed space to grow without interference. Isolation is where clarity is born. When you're constantly surrounded by voices, advice, and opinions, it becomes hard to hear your own thoughts. You start adjusting your decisions to fit what others expect from you. You water down your goals. You delay your plans. Over time, you slowly lose connection with what you actually want. Isolation gives that connection back. When you step away, even briefly, you begin to see things differently. You notice how much of your time was spent reacting instead of creating. You realize how often your energy was pulled toward conversations, expectations, and distractions that had nothing to do with your future. Isolation removes the pressure to perform. In isolation, there is no audience, no one to impress, no one to explain yourself to. And in that quiet space, you're free to be honest. Honest about your weaknesses, honest about your habits, honest about what's been holding you back. That honesty is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Growth doesn't happen when everything feels good. It happens when you're willing to sit with discomfort and learn from it. Isolation forces you to confront yourself without distractions. It removes excuses and replaces them with responsibility. This is where real strength is built. Many people avoid isolation because it exposes them. When there's no noise, no company, and no external stimulation, your thoughts get louder. You can no longer blame circumstances or other people. You see clearly how your choices shape your reality. Isolation teaches accountability, and accountability is not easy. It requires maturity, it requires discipline, it requires you to stop waiting for motivation and start relying on commitment. In isolation, you learn how to move even when you don't feel like it. Another powerful aspect of isolation is focus. Without constant interruptions, your mind can finally settle on one thing at a time. You stop jumping between ideas. You stop half-finishing tasks. You begin to experience what deep work feels like. Deep work changes everything. It allows you to build skills faster, to think more strategically, to make progress that compounds instead of resets. Isolation creates an environment where consistency becomes possible. And consistency, over time, creates confidence. This confidence doesn't come from praise or recognition. It comes from knowing you're putting in the work, day after day, even when no one sees it. That kind of confidence is quiet, but unshakable. Isolation also helps you redefine your identity. When you're always around people, You unconsciously play roles. You become who others expect you to be. In isolation, those roles fall away. You're no longer reacting to feedback. You're acting from intention. You begin to ask deeper questions. Who am I becoming? What kind of life do I want? What am I willing to sacrifice to get there? These questions don't have easy answers, but they are necessary. Isolation gives you the space to explore them honestly, without influence. This is where vision becomes clear. A clear vision changes how you move. It simplifies decisions. It sharpens priorities. You stop saying yes to things that don't align with your future. You stop wasting energy on distractions that don't serve your growth. Isolation teaches you the value of solitude, not loneliness. There is a difference. Loneliness is feeling disconnected from others. Solitude is feeling connected to yourself. One drains you, the other restores you. When you learn to be comfortable alone, you gain freedom. You stop needing constant validation. You stop chasing approval. You stop fearing silence. You become self-directed. That self-direction is dangerous in the best way. It means you no longer wait for permission to grow. You no longer depend on others to define your worth. You trust your process, even when it's slow. Isolation also builds resilience. When you rely too much on external support, setbacks feel heavier. But when you've spent time alone, working through challenges independently, you develop inner strength. You learn how to adapt, how to recover, how to continue without reassurance. This resilience becomes your advantage. People may not understand your quiet periods. They may think you've disappeared. They may question your choices. That's part of the process. Isolation often looks like stagnation from the outside, but internally, everything is shifting. Foundations are being built. Habits are being formed. Character is being shaped. When you return from isolation, you're not the same person. You move differently. You think differently. You respond differently. And that change doesn't need explanation. The power of isolation is not in how long you stay away, but in how intentionally you use that time. It's not about cutting people off forever. It's about creating boundaries when needed. Isolation is a tool. Use it to reset. Use it to focus. Use it to rebuild. The world will always be there. The noise will always return. But the strength you build in isolation stays with you. And when the time comes to step back into the world, you won't be searching for direction. You'll already have it. Chapter 4. Discipline over motivation. Have you ever asked yourself why you feel unstoppable on some days and completely empty on others? Have you ever asked yourself why motivation appears when life is easy, but disappears the moment things get difficult? These questions don't mean something is wrong with you. They mean you're human. Motivation has always been unreliable. It comes and goes with emotions, energy levels, weather, mood, confidence, and circumstances. One good conversation can ignite it. One bad day can kill it. If your progress depends on motivation, your results will always be inconsistent. That's why discipline matters more. Discipline is not loud. It doesn't rush in with excitement or adrenaline. It doesn't promise instant transformation. Discipline is quiet, steady, repetitive, and because of that, it's powerful. Motivation makes you start. Discipline makes you finish. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think it's about forcing yourself, being harsh, or living a joyless life. But real discipline is not punishment. It's commitment. It's choosing long-term results over short-term comfort. It's showing up even when nothing feels rewarding. When motivation fades, and it always does, discipline is what carries you forward. It's what keeps you moving when progress feels slow and invisible. It's what separates people who talk about change from people who live it. Discipline removes the need to negotiate with yourself. When you rely on motivation, every task becomes a debate. Do I feel like doing this? Should I rest today? Maybe tomorrow will be better. Discipline ends those conversations. You don't argue with your habits. You simply act. This mental simplicity is freeing. The most disciplined people aren't constantly fighting themselves. They've designed their lives in a way that reduces friction. They don't depend on willpower every day. They depend on systems. Discipline is built through structure. Small routines, clear priorities, non-negotiable actions. You don't need extreme routines. You need consistent ones. Discipline grows when your daily actions align with your long-term vision, even on ordinary days. Especially on ordinary days. Because success isn't built on your best days. It's built on your average ones. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is logical. Motivation asks, how do I feel? Discipline asks, what needs to be done? And life rarely waits for you to feel ready. There will be days when you feel uninspired, days when you doubt yourself, days when you question the purpose of your effort. Discipline doesn't eliminate those days, it carries you through them. This is where trust is built. When you consistently keep promises to yourself, confidence grows naturally. You stop doubting your ability to follow through. You know that even when things get hard, you won't quit. That self-trust becomes your foundation. Many people chase motivation because it feels good. It's exciting. It gives a rush of energy. But motivation without discipline creates false confidence. You feel powerful without actually doing the work. Discipline creates real confidence. It comes from repetition. From progress you can measure. From effort you can look back on. And respect. Discipline also protects you from emotional decisions. When you're motivated, you might overcommit. You take on too much, too fast. When that motivation fades, burnout follows. Discipline keeps you grounded. It keeps your pace sustainable. It teaches patience. And patience is a skill most people never develop. In a world obsessed with speed and instant results, discipline reminds you that meaningful change takes time, that growth compounds quietly, that consistency beats intensity every time. Discipline turns discipline into identity. At first, you force yourself, then you train yourself. Eventually, you become the kind of person who doesn't skip. That identity shift is powerful. You stop asking, "Can I do this?" You start saying, "This is who I am." Discipline also teaches respect, self-respect. Every time you follow through, you reinforce the belief that your goals matter. Every time you quit early, you teach yourself the opposite. Discipline is not about perfection. It's about effort, even when it's imperfect. Miss a day, continue the next. Fail once, learn and adjust. Get tired, rest, don't quit. Discipline is flexible, not fragile. It adapts without collapsing. This is why discipline outlasts motivation. Motivation burns fast. Discipline burns long. The people you admire didn't succeed because they were always inspired. They succeeded because they built routines that worked even when inspiration disappeared. They understood something simple. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your discipline. And that's not a limitation, it's an opportunity. Because discipline is learnable. You don't need to be born disciplined. You build it, slowly, through repetition, through decisions that feel small in the moment, but massive over time. Start with one promise, keep it, then add another. That's how discipline grows. And once discipline is in place, motivation becomes a bonus, not a requirement. Chapter 5. Build in silence. Building in silence is one of the hardest disciplines to master. Not because it's complicated, but because it goes against everything the world encourages you to do. We live in a time where visibility is rewarded, where progress is expected to be shared, where validation is only a post away. Silence, in that environment, can feel uncomfortable, even pointless. But silence is not emptiness. Silence is protection. When you build in silence, you remove pressure. You remove opinions before they can shape your decisions. You give yourself space to experiment, fail, adjust, and grow without feeling watched. Most people announce their plans too early. They talk about what they're going to do before they've done anything at all. And once words are out there, expectations follow, questions follow, doubt follows. Silence protects your focus. When no one knows what you're working on, you're free to move at your own pace. You're free to change direction without explanation. You're free to grow without comparison. Silence keeps your energy where it belongs. There is a hidden cost to talking too much about your goals. Every explanation takes energy. Every update pulls your attention away from the work itself. Over time, talking replaces doing. Planning replaces executing. Building in silence eliminates that risk. It keeps your identity tied to action, not intention. Silence also teaches humility. When you're not constantly seeking recognition, you learn to respect the process more than the outcome. You stop chasing praise and start chasing progress. You begin to understand that real confidence doesn't need an audience. Confidence grows when effort becomes private. The strongest people don't rush to prove themselves. They know that results speak louder than announcements. They let time do the talking. Silence forces patience. Without external feedback, you don't get instant reassurance. You don't get applause halfway through the journey. You must rely on internal standards, on discipline, on self-trust. That kind of patience is uncomfortable, but it builds depth, and depth lasts. When you build in silence, failure becomes less frightening. You're not embarrassed. You're not exposed. You can make mistakes without feeling judged. This freedom allows you to take risks that most people avoid. Silence creates a safe space for growth. In that space, you can ask hard questions. You can confront weaknesses. You can work on the parts of yourself that don't look impressive yet. Most people only want to work on what can be seen. But real transformation happens where no one is looking. Building in silence also sharpens your intuition. When you're not influenced by constant opinions, you begin to trust your own judgment. You stop outsourcing decisions to the crowd. You listen inward instead of outward. This self-trust is rare, and rare qualities create uncommon results. Silence doesn't mean isolation forever. It means choosing when to be visible. It means understanding that not every stage of growth is meant to be shared. Some stages are meant to be lived privately. The world doesn't need to see your struggle. It doesn't need to approve your effort. It doesn't need to validate your dreams. What matters is that you believe in the work enough to keep going. Silence builds resilience. When no one is cheering you on, you learn how to encourage yourself. When no one is watching, you learn how to stay consistent anyway. This internal strength becomes your advantage, because eventually, life will test you in moments where support is absent, and you'll already be prepared. There is also power in surprise. When you build quietly, you remove the need to convince others of your potential. You let results speak, and when they finally appear, they carry more weight because they weren't expected. Silence makes success louder. The people who suddenly come out of nowhere didn't actually come from nowhere. They were building quietly while others were talking. They were learning while others were posting. They were practicing while others were comparing. They were refining while others were distracted. Silence gave them time. Time to improve. Time to mature. Time to become ready. Building in silence also protects your mental health. Constant exposure invites comparison. Comparison creates pressure. Pressure creates anxiety. Silence breaks that cycle. When you stop measuring your progress against external reactions, you move with more peace. You become less reactive, more intentional. Peace is productive. A calm mind works better than a stressed one. A focused mind learns faster than a distracted one. Silence supports clarity. It simplifies decisions. It reduces overthinking. It helps you see what truly matters and what doesn't. In silence, priorities become obvious. You stop chasing everything. You stop saying yes to distractions. You stop leaking energy. You begin to move with purpose. Building in silence doesn't mean hiding out of fear. It means working without needing approval. It means understanding that attention is earned, not requested. When you're ready, visibility will come naturally. And when it does, you'll be prepared to handle it. Many people seek attention before they build capacity. Silence allows capacity to grow first. Skill before spotlight. Strength before exposure. This order matters because attention amplifies who you already are. If you seek it too early, it magnifies insecurity. If you earn it later, it magnifies confidence. Silence is discipline in its purest form. It's choosing long-term respect over short-term recognition. It's trusting the process without needing reassurance. It's working when quitting would be easier and explaining would feel better. But silence doesn't explain. It produces. And production leads to results. Results don't need defending. They don't need justification. They don't need permission. They stand. If you're in a quiet phase right now, don't rush it. Don't interrupt it. Don't doubt it. This phase is shaping you. You are learning how to work without applause, how to stay focused without validation, how to believe without evidence. These are elite skills, and they will carry you further than noise ever could. Chapter 6. Pain is part of the process. Have you ever asked yourself why success always seems easier for others while you struggle through obstacles that never end? Pain is not a punishment. Pain is not a sign that you're failing. Pain is part of the process. From the very first steps toward meaningful growth, pain has a way of entering your life. It shows up as frustration, as fatigue, as doubt, as fear, as uncertainty. And the worst part is that it rarely comes with a warning. It doesn't ask permission, and it certainly doesn't respect timing. But pain has a purpose. Pain is a teacher disguised as an enemy. It forces you to confront weaknesses you never wanted to face. It challenges your patience. It tests your consistency. And it reveals truths about yourself that comfort and success never could. If you're someone who avoids discomfort, who looks for the easy path, who wants results without challenge, this chapter might be uncomfortable to read. That is exactly why you need it. Because nothing worth achieving comes without struggle. The truth is, every story of success you admire, every athlete, every entrepreneur, every artist, every leader has one thing in common. They faced pain. They didn't avoid it. They didn't wait for it to pass. They leaned into it. They allowed it to teach them how strong they really were. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Suffering is when pain breaks you, when frustration consumes you, when doubt convinces you to quit. Pain itself doesn't destroy you. It's what you do with it that matters. Those who transform pain into action, reflection, and growth are the ones who rise. Those who let it paralyze them remain stuck. Pain is a signal. It tells you where you are being tested. It shows you where growth is waiting. Pain is uncomfortable because it pushes you beyond your comfort zone. But your comfort zone is where progress goes to die. Ask yourself, are you avoiding the pain that could make you stronger? Or are you willing to walk through it, even if it's hard, even if it hurts, even if no one is watching? Most people fail not because they aren't capable, but because they give up too soon. They step back when growth requires persistence. They stop trying when improvement requires patience. And they abandon the journey when discomfort arrives. But you, the person listening to this right now, are not meant to quit at the first sign of struggle. You are meant to endure, to adapt, to overcome. Pain is your test, and how you respond defines your future. Pain is rarely linear. It doesn't arrive in predictable doses. Sometimes it hits suddenly, like losing something you relied on, or being rejected when you expected acceptance. Other times it comes gradually, a slow grind of setbacks, mistakes, and delays. Each kind of pain teaches something different, but all of it has the same purpose: to refine you. Think about the times you felt most challenged in life. Perhaps a failure that crushed your confidence. Perhaps a betrayal that broke your trust. Perhaps an opportunity that slipped away after months of preparation. Pain left its mark, but in retrospect, it also left a lesson. It forced you to adapt, to reevaluate, to become stronger, more cautious, more determined. Pain builds resilience. Resilience is what allows you to keep moving forward when others would stop. It is the muscle that grows every time you face difficulty and continue anyway. The more you endure, the stronger you become, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Pain is the weight that strengthens you for the victories ahead. And here's the most important part. Pain is temporary. It may feel endless in the moment. It may consume your mind, shake your confidence, and test your patience. But like all things, it passes. Every wave of difficulty eventually subsides. What remains is the person who endured, who learned, who grew stronger in the process. Pain also teaches clarity. When life is easy, it's tempting to be distracted, to chase shallow goals, to avoid responsibility. Pain forces you to face what truly matters. It strips away illusions. It highlights priorities. It forces decisions that you would have otherwise postponed. Pain clarifies your path by eliminating what is trivial and exposing what is essential. Pain is the catalyst for growth that comfort could never provide. There is a kind of alchemy in transforming pain into action. Every mistake, every setback, every moment of doubt can be turned into fuel. Pain can make you sharper, wiser, more disciplined, more focused. It can teach you patience when you want to rush, persistence when you want to quit, and courage when you feel fear. No one escapes it. No one moves through life without facing difficulty. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not the absence of pain, it is the response to it. The successful see pain as a signpost, not a stop sign. They do not plead for easier circumstances. They do not wait for the world to treat them kindly. They rise in spite of it. Pain also fosters empathy. When you endure hardship, you begin to understand others who are struggling. You learn to value effort, persistence, and resilience in others. You become more patient, more understanding, and more capable of leadership. Pain shapes character, and character is the foundation of meaningful achievement. Sometimes, pain teaches patience in unexpected ways. You may want results immediately. You may feel the weight of expectations, your own or others, but the journey takes longer than you imagine. The friction, the setbacks, the failures, they are all necessary. They prepare you for what is coming. They build endurance and skill. They ensure that when opportunity arrives, you are ready. Pain does not discriminate between people who deserve it and those who don't. It arrives at random times, testing everyone. But your response is what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. You can curse it, you can avoid it, or you can harness it. Harnessing pain means using it as a teacher, a fuel, and a guide. It means seeing setbacks as stepping stones. It means choosing action over complaint. It means understanding that discomfort is the price of progress. No one who has achieved something meaningful ever had a path free of pain. Every milestone, every accomplishment, every story of success contains hidden chapters of struggle, disappointment, and challenge. Pain is the invisible sculptor shaping extraordinary results. So, when you feel discouraged, when the journey is hard, when doubt creeps in, remember this: pain is not the end. Pain is the beginning. It is the sign that you are on the right path, that you are growing, and that you are being refined into someone capable of more than you once believed possible. Embrace it, face it, learn from it, and let it drive you to keep moving forward. Pain will teach you what comfort cannot. It will shape you when nothing else can. It will prepare you for the victories that lie just beyond endurance. Chapter 7. Your Daily Focus System. Have you ever asked yourself why, despite having good intentions, your days seem to slip by without real progress? The difference isn't luck. It isn't talent. It isn't even motivation. The difference is focus. And not just random focus, but systematic, intentional focus. If you want to win, if you want to achieve your goals, if you want to see real change in your life, you need a daily focus system. A system that removes distraction, channels energy, and aligns every action with your purpose. Without it, even the most determined effort becomes scattered. Even the strongest motivation fades into wasted energy. Even the clearest goals get lost in noise. The first step in building your daily focus system is clarity. You must be clear on what truly matters, not what seems urgent, not what other people want you to do, not what everyone else is chasing, but your top priorities. Ask yourself, if today were your only day, what would you do? What action would move you closer to your goal? That is your focus. Everything else is noise. Once clarity is established, the next step is structure. Structure doesn't mean a rigid schedule that suffocates you. It means intentional blocks of time dedicated to specific tasks. Morning blocks for your most important work. Afternoon blocks for communication and collaboration. Evening blocks for reflection and learning. Your mind thrives on structure. It craves it. Without it, energy leaks. Tasks bleed into each other. Days end with little to show. Structure also protects your attention. When you know exactly what you are doing at each time, decisions are simpler. You don't waste energy deciding what to do next. You don't fall prey to distraction. You simply act, and action compounds. The third step is prioritization. Every day, you will have hundreds of possible tasks. Some are urgent. Some are important. Some feel urgent, but aren't important. The focus system trains you to distinguish between them. Your rule is simple. Do what moves you forward first. Everything else comes later. This means saying no more than you say yes. It means avoiding low-value distractions. It means protecting your energy for what truly matters. The fourth step is single tasking. We live in a world that glorifies multitasking. We think doing 5 things at once makes us efficient. In reality, multitasking kills focus. It splits attention. It slows progress. Your system is built on the opposite principle. Do one thing at a time, with complete presence. Start with the most important task of the day. Complete it fully. Then, move to the next. Deep, uninterrupted work builds momentum like nothing else. And momentum, once created, becomes unstoppable. The fifth step is reflection. At the end of each day, review what you accomplished. Celebrate small wins. Identify mistakes. Learn lessons. Reflection transforms activity into progress. Without it, action becomes repetitive, and you risk repeating the same mistakes endlessly. Your reflection doesn't need to be long, just honest. Ask yourself, what moved me closer to my goals today? What wasted my energy? What can I improve tomorrow? The sixth step is routine. Your focus system works best when it becomes a habit. The same blocks of time, the same priorities, the same reflection. Routine doesn't make life boring. It frees your mind to think creatively within boundaries. Routine creates predictability, and predictability protects focus. The seventh step is environment. Your surroundings influence your attention more than you realize. A cluttered desk, constant notifications, noise, or interruptions all sabotage focus. Build an environment that supports your system. Silence unnecessary distractions. Organize your space. Communicate boundaries to others if needed. Focus is fragile. Guard it fiercely. The eighth step is energy management. Your system isn't just about time, it's about energy. When are you naturally sharpest? Morning, afternoon, evening? Schedule your most demanding work for your peak energy periods. Use low energy periods for routine tasks or rest. Your focus system must honor your body as much as your mind. The ninth step is accountability. Your system is only as good as your commitment to it. Share your goals with someone who supports your progress. Use journals, apps, or checklists to track action. Accountability ensures that the system doesn't stay theoretical, it becomes practical, applied, and measurable. The 10th and final step is adaptation. No system is perfect from day one. You will discover flaws, unexpected interruptions, or tasks that consume too much energy. The difference between winners and everyone else is this. Winners adjust. They adapt. They refine their system constantly, making it stronger, simpler, and more effective over time. When you combine these steps, you create a daily focus system that transforms ordinary days into extraordinary progress. It's not flashy. It doesn't promise instant results. It doesn't feel heroic in the moment. But over time, the compounding effect is unstoppable. One day of deep focus might feel small. 10 days feel significant. 30 days feel transformative. A year? That is the difference between someone who dreams and someone who wins. A daily focus system also reduces stress. When your day is intentional, decisions are clear, and priorities are known, anxiety disappears. You stop feeling pulled in every direction. You stop wondering if you're doing enough. You stop comparing yourself to others. Your energy is protected. Your mind is sharp. Your actions are deliberate. And that deliberate action breeds confidence. Confidence comes from knowing you are moving in the right direction consistently. It comes from seeing tangible results from intentional effort. It comes from trusting your system, knowing that it will guide you even when motivation disappears. This is why focus systems work better than motivation alone. Motivation is emotional, temporary, and unpredictable. A system is structural, consistent, and compounding. Motivation will come and go. Your system will keep moving you forward, whether you feel inspired or not. Most people never implement a focus system because it requires discipline, patience, and honesty. It requires looking at how you spend your day and cutting out everything that doesn't serve your goals. It requires rejecting distractions that feel good in the moment but waste your potential. The truth is, every winner has a system. Every person you admire has a method for staying focused, prioritizing, and acting consistently. You don't need luck. You don't need extraordinary talent. You need a system you can follow every day, no matter how you feel. Start small. Start today. Identify your priorities. Block your time. Remove distractions. Track your progress. Reflect, adjust, and repeat. Your daily focus system is your personal engine. Feed it with intentional action. Guard it with discipline. And watch as your results grow quietly, steadily, and powerfully over time. It may feel slow at first. It may feel invisible. It may feel like the world isn't noticing. That's the point. Systems don't need applause. They need consistency. When you follow your system faithfully, the world will notice eventually, but more importantly, you will notice. You will see how far you've come, how capable you are, and how unstoppable you've become. Chapter 8. Mastering Consistency. The truth is simple, and yet it is rarely understood. Consistency beats intensity. Motivation gets you started. Talent may help you rise. But consistency determines whether you finish, whether you succeed, and whether you truly win. Consistency is the invisible engine behind every meaningful achievement. It is not glamorous. It is not exciting. It does not make headlines, but it compounds quietly, steadily, and relentlessly. Every habit you repeat, every small action you take, every commitment you honor adds up. Each of these moments alone seems insignificant. Each day feels like you're doing too little. But over weeks, months, and years, the results become undeniable. That is the power of consistency. The first step to mastering consistency is clarity of purpose. If you don't know why you are doing something, sustaining effort is nearly impossible. Clear purpose gives consistency meaning. It turns repetitive actions into building blocks for a future you care about. When you're clear about why, doing the work even when it's hard feels necessary. Consistency is not about working harder every day. It's about showing up faithfully, regardless of how you feel. There will be days when your energy is low. Days when distractions call louder than your goals. Days when doubt whispers, "Why bother?" On those days, consistency is what carries you forward. It is discipline in motion. It is commitment without emotion. Consistency is more about habits than heroics. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a single burst of effort and underestimate what they can achieve with small, repeated actions. You don't need extraordinary motivation to succeed. You need small, consistent steps taken without fail. Think of consistency like water shaping stone. A single drop seems harmless. A single day seems inconsequential. But over time, repeated effort reshapes reality. Mountains are moved, careers are built, lives are transformed, drop by drop, day by day. Another essential element of consistency is scheduling your effort. Consistency thrives on structure. Habits are easier to sustain when you attach them to time, context, or routine. Choose specific times for important actions. Block them off. Protect them. Let nothing break the rhythm. Your daily schedule becomes the framework for consistent action. Consistency also demands honesty with yourself. You must track progress, acknowledge failures, and celebrate small wins. Without reflection, it's easy to assume you're consistent, when in reality, your effort is scattered. Honest tracking ensures that you can correct course, reinforce good habits, and eliminate patterns that sabotage your goals. Another key principle is resilience within consistency. Consistency is tested. Life interferes. Circumstances change. You will face setbacks, fatigue, and unexpected obstacles. Mastering consistency means learning to continue even when conditions are far from ideal. It means accepting that perfection is impossible and commitment is everything. Consistency is also about reducing decision fatigue. When you automate actions, create routines, and design systems, you remove the daily burden of deciding whether to act. You make your future inevitable by converting important behaviors into non-negotiable habits. This is why elite performers rarely leave their progress to chance. They build a system that ensures forward motion, no matter what. Consistency strengthens character. Every day you choose action over inaction, effort over comfort, and persistence over surrender. You reinforce your self-image as someone who follows through. Character is forged in repetition, and consistency is the hammer. When consistency becomes part of your identity, discipline feels natural. and results follow automatically. Consistency is not about rigid repetition. It is about adaptable persistence. Life changes, goals evolve, circumstances shift. True consistency allows you to adjust without abandoning the core path. It's about remaining committed to progress while refining methods. Flexibility without losing focus is one of the hallmarks of mastery. Consistency also eliminates self-doubt over time. The more you prove to yourself that you can stick with a task, a habit, or a goal, the more confidence you develop. Confidence is not born from talent or luck. It is born from the proof of your own commitment. The proof is in the repeated action, the small victories, and the days you refuse to quit. One of the most overlooked aspects of consistency is emotional independence. People often fail because they rely on feeling inspired, excited, or motivated to act. Mastery of consistency means moving regardless of mood. You act even when discouraged. You work even when uninspired. You push even when life feels heavy. Emotional dependence is a trap. Consistency frees you from it. Consistency compounds like nothing else. A single hour of focused work may not seem like much. A single day of routine may feel invisible. But when repeated daily, the effects multiply exponentially. Habits compound. Skills accumulate. Relationships strengthen. And opportunities emerge. Progress that feels invisible at first becomes undeniable over time. Consistency also teaches patience. You cannot master a skill, build a business, or create a life in a single day. Progress is gradual. Results arrive slowly. But every consistent day shortens the distance between where you are and where you want to be. Patience is built through repeated action. And patience is what allows consistency to translate into success. Consistency is both mental and physical. Your mind must be trained to resist shortcuts and distractions. Your body must be conditioned to endure effort, stress, and challenges. True mastery requires the integration of both mental fortitude and physical persistence. When mind and body align, consistency becomes effortless. Finally, consistency is about ownership. No one can do the work for you. No one can maintain your habits. No one can follow through on your commitments. Your progress is your responsibility. Excuses, blame, or reliance on external forces are irrelevant. The path forward is shaped by your repeated actions, your daily choices, and your refusal to quit. Every great achievement in history was built by someone who refused to stop, someone who didn't rely on luck, talent, or fleeting motivation, someone who embraced the mundane, repetitive work of showing up every day, no matter how small the action seemed at the time. That is the power of consistency. If you want results, if you want mastery, if you want success, start with one consistent action today. Pick one habit, one block of time, one commitment, and do it. Then do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Let your daily actions build momentum. Let your effort compound. Let your life transform. Quietly, steadily, and powerfully. Consistency is the bridge between goals and reality. It is the invisible force that separates dreamers from doers. Without it, talent goes to waste, motivation fades, and potential remains unrealized. With it, ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things. The choice is yours. Wait for inspiration, or commit to action. Wait for luck, or harness consistency. Wait for life to feel perfect, or take control of your days and make progress inevitable. Consistency is not about speed. It is about persistence. Not about grand gestures, but small, repeated actions. Not about perfection, but commitment. Not about feeling ready, but showing up anyway. Every day you practice consistency, you earn progress. Every day you skip it, you lose ground. The gap between those who win and those who don't is often measured in the quiet, repeated actions that go unnoticed. Mastering consistency is not about what you do in a moment of inspiration. It is about what you do every single day without fail, no matter how you feel. That is where winners are made. We've come to the end of this audiobook. You've walked through challenges, embraced discipline, faced pain, and learned the power of focus, silence, and consistency. Remember, everything you've heard isn't just advice, it's a roadmap. The journey doesn't stop here. Keep showing up. Keep believing in yourself. Keep building, quietly, every single day. Your effort compounds, your strength grows, and your victory becomes inevitable. Focus on you. Trust the process. And never forget what you do today shapes the unstoppable person you will be tomorrow. This is your moment. Bye, and thanks for listening.